Just letting you guys know you can listen to my No Bleeps podcast anywhere you stream podcasts or on my No Bleeps YouTube channel. Link in the description. Hey guys, it's Billy and welcome back to Still Sesh. Today we're talking about Trisha Paytas because once again she has quit the Frenemies podcast with Ethan Klein from H3H3. There was a massive fight between her and Ethan that went down on this week's episode of Frenemies, and it caused a whole lot of drama, and people think that she really did kind of quit. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see her come back because she's come back in the past, but this was seriously something that was taken way out of hand, and it was just not it. So it was the podcast episode Trisha Quits the podcast and storms out. In this episode, it just did not make Trisha look good at all. It was really bad. Trisha is called up by Ethan by saying can't really talk about Ela, his wife, and also Ela is Moses, Trisha's boyfriend's sister. So Trisha's like in this family, like she's in the mix here. Trisha's getting upset because Ethan is saying like she can't really talk about Ela, or Ela doesn't like it when Trisha talks about her because she doesn't say nice things about her. And to my knowledge, this is a true fact that in the past, Trisha has said not so nice things about Ela. She said that Ela could do better, that, you know, she married Ethan and that she could do way better than Ethan. And, you know, that's Trisha roasting her life, her family life, the person that she chose to marry, the love of her life. Like, that's just not nice. You don't want to hear those things. Ethan is basically telling Trisha, don't talk about Ela on the podcast. And Trisha goes into what she always does when someone says don't talk about her. You're a public figure. I can talk about whoever I want, and she just gets really upset. They basically get into a conversation about how Trisha will say things like Moses doesn't like you, and then she's causing problems between Moses and Ela's relationship as brother and sister by saying those things. You know, it's not good to bring this family stuff up onto this public platform and then cause a bunch of issues. The situation just got really out of hand, and out of nowhere, under her breath, Trisha says, when I have kids, I'm not gonna have nannies, that's for sure. And Ethan is like, how are you gonna do anything? You're not going to have a babysitter? And Trisha was like, she's never had a nanny, and Ethan feels like she is suddenly attacking him and Ela's parental decisions because they have a nanny to watch their son Theodore, who's 1.5, and they both work. He said he was there working on the podcast and Ela was at their office working, and they need to have a nanny to watch their son so they can work and provide for their son. Trisha's just basically saying that she never called Ethan a bad parent, but it's kind of insinuated with the way that she's talking about having a nanny. She says like, I just would never have a nanny. He asked her like why she made the comment in the first place, and she said she heard the nanny upstairs and just thought that she would never have a nanny. She said that her mom worked and her brother ended up watching them, and then Ethan is like, well, our son doesn't have siblings, so should he just stay home by himself? And she says he should be with family, like why can't the grandparents come? She says that when she has kids, she would do anything in her power to just like be with her kids and spend all of her time with her kids. And Ethan was just like, we have to work. It's also like he thinks it's healthy to be away from your kids sometimes, and also, you know, not everyone has the luxury of being able to have family members watch their children, and not everyone has the luxury of being able to, you know, stay at home with their child and give their child full attention. And he also asked her like, you know, have you ever been around a 1-year-old? And she gets super offended and is like, you're being insensitive because, you know, I'm infertile. And he was basically saying, that's not what I was trying to say. I was trying to say that if you were around a 1.5-year-old, you would know that you cannot do work and also watch them. You can't give them their full undivided attention and try to get work done. It's literally impossible. That's why they have the babysitter, so they can still be able to like balance their schedules and get work done and all this stuff. And she's just saying that the kids should not have to be around a stranger. Family should be able to watch them. Like the grandparents should be able to come over and watch. This situation was unnecessary. It was like unnecessary for her to really say that they shouldn't have a babysitter. Obviously they're doing the best for their kid and they're working and they're providing for him, and you know, not everyone has a luxury, like Ethan said, to have family watch your kid. Basically, he then circles back and asks her why she even got mad in the first place, because she is super frustrated, and she basically says it's because Ela is just too good for me to talk about. Then she like starts freaking out. She's like, I'm not gonna come back into this house. She calls Ela the C word, and she says that, you know, Ethan and Ela talk about her all the time, and she starts crying, and she sees Moses and says your family sucks. So basically she got mad at Ethan because because he was protecting Ela, because he was trying to say like Ela doesn't really like it when you talk about her because it causes issues in the family, and she used the same excuse that she always does, that's like, you're a public figure, you can be talked about. But I just feel like when you are also working together and you're like family, there are boundaries that you shouldn't cross when you're talking about someone in a negative light. It's just like, maybe keep those feelings to yourself, especially when it's like going to be on a public platform. Now, Trisha ended up making a response video once this podcast was posted, and it was titled "Why I Quit Frenemies." She says that everything that she said was awful. Her behavior at the end was horrible. She says she feels really bad and she feels awful. She knows that everything that she said was horrible. She's not asking for sympathy. She knows she called Ela awful names, says that she doesn't mean any of it. It's wrong. It's bad. She felt instantly bad. The whole thing just spiraled. She chose not to watch the podcast episode, and she said she apologized to them directly, and she's truly sorry that it escalated and she went for low blows and she feels really awful. Now, in this, she did kind of say that Ethan does push her to get a reaction out of her a lot of the times, and he did trigger her by putting words into her mouth when Ethan said Ela finds it annoying that you call her rude or unwelcome. She says she's never said that about her before. Trisha did admit that she did say that Ela does hate her. Ultimately, what I've gotten from this is that Trisha has seen Ethan and Ela talk on their podcast together about Trisha and Moses's relationship and how they don't approve of it. They don't like them being together. And because they talk about her, she just was all of a sudden very triggered and really upset that Ethan was suddenly telling her she could not talk about Ela, because if they talk about her, then she feels the right that she should be able to talk about Ela on the podcast. Obviously, I think it's a little different because it's not like it's her and Moses on the podcast and they're talking about how they feel about Ela and Ethan talking bad about them in a relationship, because she's trying to talk about Ela with Ethan, who's married to her. It gets very complicated. The fact that this is all within the family is very, very complicated, and it makes everything just messy. She says she does not want to come across as dividing someone's family. She wants people to know that she feels like she lost good people in her life, and she really loved and was inspired by H3H3, and she wanted to do the podcast with them, and she's sad she ruined the podcast and the family relationship that she had with them, and that, you know, she feels ultimately horrible about this whole thing. But she did pin a comment on the video that says, people keep praising Ethan, Ela, but to be honest, they're just as toxic as David and his gang was. They poke Trisha in ways that they know will get a rise out of her and don't fully communicate with her. There's a lot of underlying passive aggressiveness and condescension in their interaction with Trisha, and nobody ever calls them out for it. So that just makes me think, like, you know, it's really not all good between all four of them, meaning Moses, Trisha, Ela, and Ethan. It's really not all good. Now, Ethan and Ela then got on their own channel and they posted a video, H3 After Dark, talking about the Trisha thing, where they went on live and they were basically talking about how they were feeling about the situation, and they also mentioned that they had seen the pinned comment that Trisha had pinned on the video, and it completely confused them because she had individually apologized to them, and they felt like this pinned comment was just a little confusing. It was kind of the opposite of the apology. And once they said this, Trisha decided she was going to make a video of her own, and it was titled "So Done with H3 and the Hypocrisy and Lies." And she basically is going off on them because she's confused as to why they aren't believing her apology and like what's so wrong about the pinned post. And it's a mess, you guys, like a true mess. She seems like really done with the podcast, but at the same time, I still see her coming back. It just seems like every other time they have drama, she comes back. So I won't be surprised to see her. A lot of people feel like she is pushing good people away. Some people are not, you know, feeling Ethan and Ela and think that they are pushing Trisha to the edge and pushing her to act this way. But I definitely want to know how you guys feel about the situation in the comments down below. This is just a lot to process and a lot to keep up with, but I definitely want to know how you guys feel. So let me know, and I will talk to you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.